I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and co-owner of PurePleasureShop.com.
I'm April, VP of the cutting-edge sex toy company Hot Octopus, and I dedicate my life to the business of sex.
We are on a mission to teach you how to have hot sex, deep intimacy, and how to make your own rules for who you are as a sexual being.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com. Well, hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Podcast, your bonus episode of the month.
We never do that, so I just was like, oh, hi, everybody.
What do we normally do?
We usually record the intro separately.
Oh yeah. Or we're like, everyone, it's interview time. But nope, we're diving right in.
We finally changed our intro.
Here we go. Let's
Which
dive.
they do
What's
get
the
to
new
hear
intro.
It's our like, hi, I'm Amy.
Instead of like, we're best friends that make our own roles, we changed it. To
We
be
updated it,
a little
yeah.
quicker and less informative.
Yes.
And I dropped the Boss Queen sex toy mogul that Amy deemed me.
You will always be one in my eyes.
Yeah.
Me too, April.
Thanks, Willow.
So we have Willow Brown. Can we call you Dr. Willow Brown?
Almost.
Almost?
I'm getting my doctorate.
Woohoo! Almost Dr. Willow Brown. Willow was on 2 years ago on our podcast.
Was it in February as well, or was it?
God, I don't know the month.
Yeah.
It was raining, so it might have been.
I felt like it was kind of winter
it
time.
was cold in winter.
Yeah.
And the episode was, I think it's just called Taoist, spelled Taoist Sex.
Yeah,
I don't know what
think
number
so.
it is,
I
but
don't know.
It
but
was
yeah,
a
if you
good
go
one.
and look it up, and you will find Willow on our podcast. And Willow is back, and we love this because Willow's here
Woohoo!
on my couch in person.
In person.
Yay!
It's so much fun. I was just telling the ladies, this is the only interview I ever get to do with the people in person. Mostly I'm on the computer.
I know
We really
And
love
it's more fun this way.
It's way more fun.
Yeah.
'Cause Zoom and Skype it's fine.
It's fine.
It's sufficient.
Good.
It's just nice to have the energy and
Yes.
the flow.
Yeah.
Drinking wine
Yeah.
and water. It's all
Except
good.
you're going to talk about not drinking wine
Yeah.
for your...
That's true.
I was like,
I'm
does
gonna
No sugar
wine
thing.
count for that?
So we're going to,
It's all
we're
about
going to cover
balance.
a number of topics here. You're talking about sexual I have a hard time with this word, by the way.
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty. I like that word's always hard.
I almost
for
thought
me.
you were going to say
Sovereignty.
sodomy for a second.
Sexual sodomy.
So
here we go. This will be a good
We're going to talk
episode.
about sodomy today, also known as anal sex. Sovereignty. God, it should
You
be
did
so
it.
much
You nailed
easier.
it.
Just now.
Well
but
done.
Next time, tomorrow, I will have a hard time again with it. So what does that mean, Willow?
What is sexual sovereignty? So what is sovereignty? Basically, sovereignty is think about the sovereign one, like the king or the queen, and they were the ones who had the authority to govern for not only themselves, but also for the entire community. So it's about seeing yourself, right? We have many different parts of ourself. We have the scared little girl. We have the, confident woman. We have all these different personas inside of ourselves. So you can think there's like a whole community inside of this one body. And so it's really having the authority to govern or to make choices for all these different parts of yourself in a way that really aligns with what's true for you. What is going to be nourishing for you or what's going to be toxic for you, and making those discerning choices based on that sovereign, doing it on that sovereign level. So it's really stepping into a higher level of confidence. I think of sovereignty as like confidence on steroids. It's just very high level, knowing what's right for you.
Which would be different than sexual autonomy, which would kind of be like zeroing in on one of those spots.
Yeah.
And kind of focusing on those.
Right.
But gathering all of them. Gather your people, inner people.
In your inner people. Exactly.
Your
and then
inner
just
genitals.
Inner genitals and outer genitals and all parts of because there's so many sexual centers in your body, right? It's not just our genitals or our breasts or our penises or our lingams or our anuses. It's like we've got a pineal gland up in the head and a pituitary and a hypothalamus. We're going to talk a little bit about endocrine today. And all of those are sexual centers in the body. So what's going on with your adrenals? Are you making choices for your adrenals as well as your frontal lobe, which really wants that, piece of candy that's in front of you? So on a sexual level, when we think about sexual sovereignty, I think we really don't aren't raised with that as the forefront of like, do what feels really good and right to you. There's so much stigma put on sexuality. Oh, you might get a disease or you might get pregnant. There's so much fear involved in it. Or, you know, you might attract the wrong person if you dress a certain way or act a certain way. And so there's, it's hard to really know where your truth is in all of that mix.
Yeah.
I'm always love when we talk about the whole thing as a system, you know, like the body and the hormones and how they're all working together. And we always think of them as like these little boxes, you know, like there's my sexual self and then there's my physical body, and they're different things from each other. Or there's like my sexual physical body, my genitals, but these other things, they're not really related, you know. And so I think we were talking about like adrenals. My first thought is like, adrenals, fuck, you know, for people who are drinking like 8 cups of coffee a day, is that affecting their sex drive and their genitals? She's just nodding her head. She's saying yes.
I take a bunch of vitamins to help with my adrenal support because it manages your stress, right? So there's a lot of different types of mushrooms. I think that lion's mane and reishi, which I never say right, reishi or reishi. I'm always like reishi. Cordyceps, yeah. I was sticking cordyceps up my vaginal canal once when I thought I had an infection, and someone was like, "You shouldn't have done that."
How did that work out?
A mushroom came out, and I ate it. My trip bulls.
Mushroom farm. Mushroom farming is really in right now.
So is that something with your adrenal health? Is that what you would recommend besides maybe giving up coffee or some of the things that tax your adrenals? I mean, stress in general it's like stress management, right?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, like what's happening now is a lot of people just have these wet blankets, layers of wet blankets over their adrenal glands. And they're like, how come I can't fall asleep at night? And how come I wake up tired? How come I need coffee to wake up in the morning and a glass of wine to go to sleep at night? It's because the adrenals are shriveled up little raisins.
Don't look at me,
Willow. You were almost embarrassed.
Come on.
She's saying they're shriveled raisins.
So we want to plump those raisins up into big, juicy plums, right? There's sexual practices for that. There's herbs and mushrooms for that. The king herb for your adrenal glands is going to be ashwagandha. I mean, everyone should probably just be taking it if you're over 35 these days.
I had 2 weeks until I'm 35. Place my order.
Start early. Yeah. Get ahead of the game.
We'll inject it into you. We'll just boil it up and be like, here you go, Amy, you're getting it.
All right. I mean, yeah, probably a good idea.
But that's good to know. I didn't know exactly what, because my naturopathic doctor told me to take a bunch of different herbs and recommended a whole list. And a lot of it had to do with my adrenal health, and my sex drive did. I mean, I can't really say it corresponded exactly when I started taking them, but for about 3 months, I felt like my sex drive really did have a nice rise.
Yeah, and it will be cumulative, similar to, CBDs are cumulative. You've got to do them regularly for them to actually work on the inflammation. So ashwagandha, all these herbs are going to be, it's the same as, changing your diet. It's going to be, it's not going to happen the next day, but if you get off of sugar, then you actually, your joints will start feeling better. Your digestion will work better. Your vitality will go up. So your libido will go up,
But don't get on the fake sugar though. This drives me nuts when people are like, I'm off sugar, but then they're having Truvia and stevia. And then that still is glucose.
Some
Diet Cokes, yeah. That's zero sugar.
Word. Doesn't that work? It's not me. I don't do that. But.
I have a friend who had gestational diabetes, and she was testing her blood, and she did say that her blood would rise when she would do stevia, but not when she would do the monk fruit sugar.
Yeah, I hate the monk fruit sugar,
I think
dude.
It's
I cannot
different
handle
though
it.
For everybody. Everybody, just handles all these different sort of sugars differently.
But is monk fruit still, it's like the monk fruit sweetener is still monk sugar.
But it just doesn't raise your glycemic index. Okay. That's the difference. So it won't cause the same level of inflammation in your tissues. So I'm preparing for this get off of sugar and reclaim your vitality, reclaim your sexy again challenge that we're doing, this free challenge. which you're all invited to participate in. So in prep for doing that, I have been off of sugar now for 15 days.
Ooh, and off of sugar is
No fruit, no wine,
Yeah.
no rice or breads or any of that. Any
So
of those
none of the
carbs.
gluten-free stuff.
None of the gluten-free
That's
stuff.
something also that I've been realizing because I'm on like a gluten-free thing for a long time now. And there's a lot of your sugar intake goes way up.
Yeah, because you're still taking in a lot of carbohydrates with all the gluten-free flours and stuff like that. So
So what are you eating right
one
now?
of the things that I noticed right away is, first of all, digestion works way better, which is fantastic, right? Because that's the center of everything. That's the foundation for your whole hormonal system and your nervous system and your immune system. And it's also one of the 3 main brains in the body, right? It's your enteric brain. So it's actually got neural pathways inside of your gut that relate to memory and all these different things that you think about your brain thinking of. Smells make you remember certain moments in time and things like that. So your gut brain, when it's really healthy, your brain fog will go away. So that's a big thing that I work on with a lot of women in my practice is clearing the brain fog. And then joint pain, tons of neck going out, joint pain, that kind of stuff. So that all clears out. And then you just sleep better and you wake up with that more vibrancy to the eyes and around the eyes. You don't get that puffiness around the eyes that you get when you're doing, more sugar. And it is a balance, right? I mean, I go through times where I'm like, I'm on a cookie cleanse. I'm having a cookie every single day this week, just for my soul. Because I love, my downfall is chocolate chip cookies,
Dude.
Give me a chocolate chip cookie straight out of the oven any
Warm
day.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that last night.
So hard to say no to,
Yeah.
And for some people, it's the wine. They're like, I don't care about sweets. I just want my wine, got to have my wine. And so all of it's good, but it's just about moderation. So I'll do periods, chunks of time where I'll just go completely off of sugar for, up to 3 months at a time. At one point I did 1.5 years, and the whites of my eyes were just radiantly white, So it's really powerful what can happen when you go for it. But how does that relate to, your sexuality and your relationships in your life? I think it just increases your capacity. You have a greater expanded availability to be in your senses, to be sensual, to be present, instead of a capacity getting really limited, with all the stress and inflammation. When your body's inflamed, you're going to have less capacity to handle life.
Inflammation's the killer for so many people in so many ways.
So many.
Yeah.
People don't even understand what it is. They think it's just arthritis or something that is, I have a weird neck pain that's always there. I slept funny. And it's a deeper problem that probably, the sugar is a huge aspect of, it's a legal drug.
That's
is available everywhere.
Drug.
So weird.
That's
yeah.
it. Totally.
I remember going to Mexico and going to buy. We had an Airbnb, and so we were going to make some of our own food. We went to the grocery store there to make our own food, and everything had sugar in it. Everything.
High fructose corn syrup.
Sugar was in everything. I was things that was so unnecessary for sugar to be in. There was sugar added to it. It was so hard to find things without it, and it's just places. It's just filled with it. It's it's crazy. And what it does to the body and. Yeah, I mean, I feel so. It seems like your approach, and I guess is the Taoist perspective. And we didn't ask you in the beginning to kind of tell our listeners more about yourself and what you do, but maybe you can elaborate on that. It's almost like a slower way. It's like taking in the whole system, everything into account: nature, your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotional things, all the things that you eat, etc. And this slower way of working towards. Full embodiment of where it is that you want to go versus here's some hacks so you can get there overnight.
Take this pill.
Yeah, take this pill. So maybe you can elaborate more on that and what your approach is, so our listeners who haven't listened to that previous episode will know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So I'll define. So basically, in the sacred sexuality realm, there's many different lenses to look through. There's Tantra, there's some Egyptian practices, there's more new and modern things out there. There's Taoist Sexology practice, which is primarily the lens that I look through coming from a Chinese medicine background. And So I'll break those words down. And I'll start with sexology. So we've got Taoist Sexology. The reason that I love working with Taoist Sexology is that it's extremely holistic. It fits into every sector of your life, whether it's financial, relationship, sex, home, whatever you are looking at, you can use Taoist Sexology to heal and to augment that sector in your life. So sexology is the study of or the observation of your own sexual energy. And eology, we're, researching, looking at it. How do we understand this better to be able to use it better? So you become the researcher of your own sexual energy. And that sexual energy could be one of two things. The first thing would be what you would think of: having orgasms, ability to have them, having multiple orgasms, ability to have a strong, intimate relationship that you can stay connected with and, know what you want sexually and then be able to ask for that from your partner, being comfortable with all of that. That's a piece of it. So the other part of sexology then would be looking at your hormonal system. What's going on with your adrenals, what's going on with your thyroid, what's going on with your hypothalamus and pituitary. Is the conversation between all these different glands in your body a clear, connected conversation, or is there some disconnect? Is your liver gunked up and backed up? Because that's going to affect that conversation. So the organs play a part in your endocrine system as well. Your gut has a huge part in your endocrine system. So those are really the two branches of sexology. Just normal, what you would think about sex. Am I having it? Do I like it? Do I enjoy it? Do I have a good sexual partner? And endocrine. And then we break down that word Taoism. So when you've probably heard the Tao is the way, which sounds great, but what does that really truly mean? The way is the way of nature. So we're looking to the rise and fall that nature goes through every day, every week, every month, every year. That expansion, contraction, the seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall. It's this constant rise and fall that nature does, and since we are not just part of nature, but we actually are nature, we do all those things too. Every morning we open our eyes, we rise, we come into an awake state, we go to sleep, and we close our eyes, we go back in. And for all people, but especially women who are still in their fertility years, meaning they're still having a menstrual cycle, they go through the same 4 seasons that the earth goes through. So every moon cycle that we go through, we're always talking about, I have my moon, or I'm mooning, and so those are the times when you're in your winter phase. That's the quiet time, the stillness where you go in and you get more introspective. So each one of these months or weeks that we go through each month corresponds to one of these seasons. And it's true for men, it's true for women in menopause as well. And it's really awesome to start living your life according to your winter phase or your summer phase or your spring phase, because those are all carrying different medicines, carrying different energies in them. So for let's say summer phase, that's a time of full expansion and expression. That's the time to have a lot of social engagements on your calendar and get out there if you're dating.
Is that when you're ovulating?
That's when you're ovulating.
Yeah, you're like, wait,
yep, ovulation.
What is it? Luteal and then autonomal?
There's follicular phase and luteal phase.
Luteal and then, is it not autonomal? What is it called?
I think you're thinking of autumnal.
Autumnal.
Is that, yeah.
Autumnal. Autumnal. Yes. And then what's the winter one?
So winter is the time that you bleed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called though? It's just a winter phase? No.
Winter phase. I mean, according to the way that I teach. So basically what I do is I take the Chinese 5 elements and put them into the 4 phases of the moon cycle, so that you're actually living your sexology. You're not just having better orgasms. You're doing that too, but you're also having a deeper connection with your life, a more intimate connection with everything in your life. It's like, what is your relationship with money like? People don't think about having a relationship with money, but some of the wealthiest people I know have the worst relationships with money, you know, and that money and sex obviously are down in the, you know, root in the second chakra, down there in the lower chakra, connection to earth. What's your connection to the earth? Are you connected to it? Do you appreciate, you know, the ebb and the flow that's happening all the time?
Someone told, an author, I read this book about your relationship with money, and I thought it's so helpful for me. And I don't know if you've ever, it's like how to be a badass making money, or I can't remember. She's like Jen Sincero. She says, talk about money like it's a best friend or a boyfriend. Yeah. So what's your relationship with money? And I thought that was so powerful. She's like, if you say, I hate money, you don't say that about your boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, or
some people do.
Some people do. Well, some people do. It's
depending
still
on the day.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, like relationship though, with the same with I think within yourself too, how you talk about yourself, but treating money like it is a person. And so write money love letters. I love you, money. And I've done that many times,
and it works.
It does.
It does
for the most part. Money.
The
money comes to me every day.
This is the money podcast now.
And making love to money too. That's something that I will.
It's not clean, okay? So take
a shower after.
Yeah, but wear a condom.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's a lot. That's a homework I give to my clients who are working on their relationship with money. Like, okay, get a bunch of, I don't care what kind of bills you have. If they're ones or hundreds or fives, it doesn't matter. Get a bunch of bills, spread them on your bed, light some candles, get your music going, and like make love to money. Like make love to the energy, because really it's just empty. Money is neither good nor bad. It's your perception that creates what you create with it. It's
just the energy. What do you think when you work with clients that have kind of a weird relationship with sex? Obviously such
with a lot of those,
right? There could be so many reasons. There could be trauma, or what do you usually suggest? Is it like more of a connection to self?
Yeah, it depends on, you know, what the issue is. A lot of times it's coming from a trauma, and it's a lot of times a learned behavior. And I have to say, a lot of times the shit that people carry isn't even their own shit. It was just put upon them by their parents, which was put upon them by their grandparents, you know, and the lineage goes on. And so I always tell people, you know, this is the time. We're in the time and the place where we have the resources and the consciousness to break the cycle. We're breaking the epigenetic code. So any healing work that you do for yourself, you're doing for your foremothers and your past mothers and past fathers, and also any kids that come after you, whether they come from your vagina or not, doesn't really matter. You know, that you're breaking a chain that's been here for eons, and it's so important to do this healing work and break this chain so that we don't continue to perpetuate the fear cycle that surrounds sex and money and just being in a body. It's hard to be a human. You know, it's hard to be a human on this planet Earth. I think a lot of people would rather not. And so
I want to be a bonobo.
I want to be Monty, the dog over here. He looks pretty easy being this guy.
I was like, I want to be my dog too.
Yeah, they're just lounging.
The best life.
I know.
Seriously.
Just living the dream over here.
You got to go get a job, Monty.
No, he's old.
He's in retirement now.
He's retired.
He's like, I'm lumpy.
Yeah, sex is... So the people that you work with all genders?
Yeah.
Mostly women?
Men and women, okay. Mostly women, but I am working with men more, and it's so fun. I love working with men because men see a problem, they find a solution, and they do it.
Yeah.
You know, women are a little bit more of a journey to get to it, but men are very direct and straightforward.
But your approach is more more of a journey approach. It's not just like, all right,
that's why it's a great fit for women.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure that's an educational experience for a lot of men who are like, well, okay, yeah, I guess it's not just, you're not just going to give me the solution and just do it. You know, I have to like live it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you hear about people giving like the hacks for sex, you know, like do X and you'll get Y overnight, or like, let's talk about orgasm, I guess, for people who are having, dull orgasms or issues having an orgasm. Do you think that a lot of the tips that are taught that are just like, you know, quick fixes aren't really as impactful as, or like people need they need to look at the whole, all the things that are contributing, their health, their organs, the things that they're eating, their emotional relationships.
I think those quick fixes can be really powerful and impactful. I think maybe that they just don't last. It's like you make the change, you do the thing, and you see the results pretty quickly, and you're like, wow, that really worked. But then if the underlying roots for why you pattern a certain way don't get addressed, you're going to go back to that pattern. You're going to forget about that hack. You're going to forget to do it. So even hacks are long-term practices in order to... And I think you can heal it from both sides. I think you can heal the pattern and get the results. I think you can go for the results and keep with that practice, and those patterns will begin to heal and change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And it's a daunting task for some people. Like, I have to do all the work on all these parts of myself, and all these parts. But it's powerful work.
You mentioned something before we started recording, and I thought it would just be so, even for me, maybe I'm trying to benefit selfishly, the pelvic floor story.
Oh, yeah.
Because you do a lot of work, as you mentioned, with a lot of vulva owners.
The vulvas are talking.
And pelvic floor.
I have so much to say.
I know. I would love to hear some of the stories.
Oh, my God, the stories. So, they're not linear stories a lot of times, but I'll teach women to do pelvic floor work on themselves, and then I'll also do it directly on some of my clients. And it's just really powerful what comes out. I'll tell you a story of my own because I know it well and I lived it. So basically, there I was in Ireland traveling around reclaiming my sexual sovereignty, last year. And it was one of the best trips I ever took. And one day it was just pissing rain and there was nothing else to do but do a pelvic floor sweep on myself, So I did a little housekeeping.
What is a pelvic floor sweep?
So
tell me.
This is basically how I see working with the pelvic bowl, working with inside the vagina. There's, how you get knots in your right shoulder, and then your right shoulder's higher and your neck's a little tweaked and you're not totally on point throughout the rest of your body. That happens in your pelvic bowl as well. So you've got these little knots and nodules and tensions and tissue wraps stuck inside of the pelvic bowl. So what you can do is you can go in with, it's usually if you're working on yourself, you're going to want to use either a vibrator or a wand of some sort. It's kind of an awkward angle. But when I work on other women, I just use my fingers because then I can really feel. It's a bit like doing cranial sacral on the vagina. And what's really cool about the tissues of the vagina is they're very similar to infant tissues in that they hold really well. First of all, they go into a release quickly, and then they hold that release a lot better than, say, your shoulder tissues, because that's where you're doing all your thinking, right, and stressing. So when you go into the pelvic bowl, you can find these tender points. So I did one on myself, and I had been struggling with envy, not jealousy in my relationships. I never really had a problem with that, but more envy around, other women in the world who were doing similar work and were doing really well, and, oh, it's so easy for them, and why is it so hard for me? And I would go into that downward spiral of envy. I'm sure some of y'all out there can feel and relate to that, because I think it's a common one, especially with all the social media that we're immersed in these days. And I just was so over it. I was like, I've got to clear this out. And so I didn't even really have the intention to clear envy, but I went into my pelvic bowl and I worked on the left side, which is the feminine side, and I found this tender point, which was just insanely tender, and I couldn't release it. I worked in there for 2 hours. I couldn't get it to unravel. And then finally I was like, what is this? And it was a dagger, basically, because it was a sharp pain. And I asked Spirit, what is this? And it was a dagger. And I was like, well, I can't just pull the dagger out. And Spirit's like, no, because it's woven into your DNA. It's woven into your tissues. And you're going to need help getting it out. And I was like, well, who put the dagger there? Is that important? And Spirit was like, this elder woman, this witchy woman, she put the dagger there. And I was like, okay, why? Why did she put the dagger there? And it all was because the Egyptian pharaoh, this was all lifetimes ago, right? This Egyptian, I started getting images. You get a lot of imagery when you're working in the vagina. I got images of this Egyptian pharaoh being in love with me as a young woman, and whether I was in love back wasn't part of the story, but just that his wife was jealous and told her witchy wise woman to put the dagger in me. And so it was all woven into my DNA, and I couldn't just pull it out. And so I had to call on Yeshua and Mary Magdalene and Archangel Michael and all these entities to sort of help me, like, here, you hold that thread over there. And there I was in this Airbnb in Ireland, just like, you hold that thread over there. And there was just all these threads of tissue everywhere that was just unraveling. And then eventually I was able to kind of pull that dagger out. And then we wove back in all this love and light and support. And I mean, I got out of that room, and then the sun came out and there were rainbows, and I went hiking, and my whole left side of my entire body felt like completely different, like so much more expanded and open. And anytime I would go to the, take a pee, I was like, whoa, it was just easy to pee. It was just amazing. So then I had to, of course, spend a whole nother session on my right side later on.
Were there daggers?
Yeah, the daggers.
No more daggers.
No more daggers on the right side.
Huge sword. Gigantic.
Yeah.
So
A samurai put it.
I wonder what kind of ancestral
So much. Oh my God.
just trauma has gone on with my family. I'm like, please, I hope they weren't slave owners or anything, dude. I don't think so. We were Native Americans. Blackfoot tribe.
Some trauma.
Blackfoot tribe.
So that's some trauma.
Yes.
But I don't think we didn't come from the South, so I don't believe that it was any. I think about that stuff though, and it like really affects me sometimes when I think about the incident. And for people that aren't as wooey, this is hard for them to grasp. People that are science based, it's still though. Come on, we're all energy. We're all going somewhere when we die, right? It's not just into the ground or burned. It's our energy is going somewhere. So if you really think about it, it is all connected. We're all connected. We're all one. Between us and Monty and the plants, like we all really are. So I encourage everyone out there to embrace that, even if you are a sciencey, techie human.
Yeah,
Know
I
that.
love both sides. I think, both sides are so important.
Are you finding these stories too in your work with other women then, where they're like, they're coming up with the images as you're working on them?
Yeah, so a lot of times I'll do pelvic floor work on someone. I'll be over on their right side, and I'll be over toward the, we do a clock. So it's like I'll go around and find the tender points. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 12 or whatever? We find a tender point, and then we work on that one. Let's say it's 3 o'clock on the right side. I'm working in there and I'm like, okay, so what's going on with having boundaries with the masculine in your life? Either your own masculine energy or a man in your life. And they'll be like, oh, well, that has to do with my dad and the way that I was treated when I was 5 and blah, 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 blah. So really these deep, and then I'll say, well, I'll do a lot. I'll always come back to, well, what is the sensation of that? What does that feel like? And it'll be tight, or it'll be like blocked, or it'll be really dense. Sometimes they'll say it feels dense but far away. Anytime someone says it's far away, I know it's coming from a different lifetime or a different previous grandmother or grandfather or something. And so then we'll unravel that. One time I was working on a woman, and we were there on this one spot. I was starting to get irritated because we were there for so long, but it wouldn't release, and I couldn't think of anything, and she wasn't getting there, and I kind of just let go and went blank. And then I said, well, what about your grandma? And she's like, what about my grandma? I'm like, I don't know. What about your grandma? And she was like, that's so weird that you say that, because my whole family's having this thing with my grandma right now because she just passed away, and it's about her will and the money and the da-da-da-da-da. And then the tissue released. It went pulse, 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 and release. A lot of times it'll get hot. Like my fingers will get fiery, turn really, really hot and on fire. And that'll be a release. Sometimes I'll get like a pulsing sensation under my fingers and then a release. Sometimes a lot of emotions will flow forward and sometimes not. It just depends on the woman, what she's going through. She'll get visions. I think recently I had a gal we were working on just, you know, she was healing the way that she was as a little girl. Like she wasn't super in touch with her feminine as a little girl. So we were healing that, I think, on her masculine side, you know, that she had to be sort of the tougher little kid. And now she's, you know, tuning into this feminine side of herself. And so there was a deep healing there.
Where do a lot of penis owners carry their, because obviously there's a canal with us and the pelvic floor. Is it in their genitals or is it more like in other parts of their bodies?
That's a perfect question, April, because that's that kind of leads to the poles and the positive and negative poles of male and female bodies. So first of all, we've got these meridians in the body, right? And some of the two main meridians that Chinese medicine really works with are the yang meridian, which runs up the spine, which is your masculine meridian.
It's yang if you're in Wisconsin.
Yang.
If you're in Wisconsin, it's yang, okay? Okay, Mom, you're welcome.
And then there's the yin meridian, which runs down the front midline of the body. So that's sort of one positive and negative pole in the body. And of course, they create a circuit. We call that the microcosmic orbit. And that circuit is the union. It's the oneness. That's the Tao, right? And then we've got these sort of like positive and negative poles in the body. So for a woman, the vagina is negative. That's, you know, something comes into it. We receive. And negative isn't a great word because it has so many connotations, but it's the receptive pole. And then for a man, his receptive pole is the heart. So that's sort of his chamber. That's where all his stuff is going to be held. And for the woman, her positive or active, you know, pole is going to be her heart. So her positive heart goes into his receptive pole, his heart. And then his positive penis pole goes literally into her.
Literally, yeah.
Into her negative or receptive.
And this doesn't have to necessarily...
I keep thinking batteries.
Well, right. Well, that's like when we're buying equipment for the podcast. It's like male quarter inch to female. I was like, whoa, this is a lot of gendered, I guess,
equipment.
Like equipment. Yeah. So, and my question is for folks out there that perhaps identify as they're a penis owner that identifies as more of a feminine,
or someone who's not straight. They're not using
right or no gendered language. They're just into their stepping into their non-binary kind of sense. Is that something that can still, because everyone still has these polarizing aspects?
Yeah, I think there's like the physical poles of it, and then there's the energetic. So I honestly don't work with a lot of non-binary clients. And I would be interested to, just based on that, you know, just to see what's actually really true. Where are they actually really holding more of their traumas or more of their patterns? I think a lot of women do really carry a pattern from their pelvic bowl. You know, it's kind of our center. Even the way that we are raised to stand, you know, the slouch and the hips forward, that thing that I've seen so many women do and have had to help correct. And so, working with
the hips forward.
The hips forward.
I feel like I'm like hips like down. Like, what's up? It's the fire. What
with the back? No, that's different.
Or that way too.
I'm getting hunched over. Swear from the interweb. Interweb is doing it. The social media. I'm all bent over. Yeah. Like, I've been realizing that. Well, the slouch though, I didn't realize that was a gendered thing from when I was little. I did take off my shirt until I was like 11, though. I was like, the boys do it. Why can't I?
I like your style, Chip.
You have the little inner tomboy.
Yeah. Oh, do it again.
Sure.
Bring it back.
I didn't understand why I didn't have a penis either. And I used to have only boys that were friends because I had a brother, and then I would take baths with these dudes and like poke their wieners. Like, what's that? That's so cool.
You have an outie.
My God.
You have an outie.
Does your mom have videos of you being like
I don't think
little
we could afford
April?
a video camera back then.
I wish I could see.
It was the 80s, and I did not grow up with a lot of money, so doubt it. My dad was a garbage man. I really want to see
a video of you like being little, and I've seen photos.
I mean, yeah,
They're
my mom
great.
has some photos of me like naked with the chicken pox, like with like a really bad haircut.
Your class photo of when you were 7 or 8 when you had the perm.
I was not cool. Okay, Amy, we all know this.
I wasn't cool either, but your perm was awesome.
I'm still bordering on cool or not. Like, but I have no shame, obviously.
You're
But yes, I was
reclaiming your
poking
cool
wieners.
now.
Yeah.
She was poking wieners.
And I remember sometimes they would get hard, but I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, little boys definitely get hard. And that's such an interesting thing too. Like little boys can get hard-ons.
Yeah.
They can actually. Little boys can have orgasmic states, but they don't ejaculate because they don't have the hormones yet, right? And so that speaks to the fact that men can have orgasms without ejaculating.
Yeah.
There are two separate physiological functions. It's just hard to wrap your brain around it if you've been doing them together for so long.
At what age does they have the hormones that make it so they can start to ejaculate? When do you know when that happens?
Like teenage?
It's like pre-puberty.
12, 13, 14.
Yeah, it's like right there. Like when
That's when the sock
puberty.
comes out and you don't touch the sock
shit.
inside the bed.
The sheets are all stuck together.
That Victoria's Secret catalog is a little sticky on page 3 and 4.
Oh, no. Put that in the garbage. So what about the brains part? I'm so interested in this part. So if there's talking about that the genitals are the fourth brain. So there's the actual brain. There's the heart brain, the gut brain, and then the genital brain.
Yeah, so basically
I love the
main brain.
Yeah.
Main brain.
the yoni and lingam brain. So basically, in your brain, in your head, you've got the cephalic brain, and there are billions of neuropathways, billions. And then in your heart, there's millions. And then in your gut, there's thousands. And so I deduce, this is my own personal theory, that there's hundreds
In the genitals.
in the yoni and in the lingam.
Isn't it? I read something. I'm always quoting that what I read, that you have more the neural pathways. You have more than stars in the sky in one brain.
billions. Yeah.
It's like it's endless,
It's infinite. Yeah, it's hard to even
So cool.
know.
And then you have hundreds of thousands, or hundred? Just
She
five?
said hundreds in the genitals.
I mean,
That's
that's
her
my guess.
Yeah.
100, because they
Hundreds.
probably haven't dissected.
Well, yeah, and this is just what I've studied and what I've learned. It's like billions, millions, thousands. Okay, well, probably, maybe there's thousands, It's pretty smart down there. What I will say is it's very smart. It's a different kind of smart. It's even deeper than what you would think of as your intuition, or what is my heart telling me to do, or what is my gut telling me to do. If you ask your yoni, if you're trying to make a decision in your life, ask your yoni, or I don't know about the lingam. I think with men, you might need to ask your heart more than your lingam, because I think the lingam might have a different brain than the yoni.
Yeah. Don't always
I wonder if
listen to
hormones
that
could
brain.
affect that, though. If you're on birth control, hormonal birth control, if that could affect some of the decision making in your fourth brain.
I've found that to be true with women who've been on birth control for long periods of time, because there's a disconnect between your nature and your nature,
Yeah.
and it's a personal choice, and to each his own. I think if you are going to do birth control, doing non-hormonal, unfortunately the copper T is, I mean, come on, why haven't we figured out a good birth control for
ridiculous.
men?
Just about to
It's
address
so
that.
annoying.
So if you're on hormonal birth control, ask your yoni, but maybe use some dice as well to get some
Flip
feedback
a coin
with your intuition.
as well.
Yeah.
Which one should I go for? That's a
I
hard
love
one.
that your body is so creative, and it has all of this ability to just tap in. Not only, yes, we are full of senses. It's just you have this ability to really to use body parts to tap into to assess an intuitive situation that you maybe want some more insight to. I love that. I've never thought about tapping into my yoni, except for when it's a sexual situation, right? But when it comes to like, hey, is this the right, podcast career path to do? Yoni, what do you think? Clench twice? Yes. That's a yes.
yes.
You just winked at me. I know it.
The yoni wink.
That's like when the horses are horny, horse vulvas wink at you. Did you know that?
No.
You talked about this on another podcast.
I know. And Amy was like, really? And I was like, girl, I
There's
learned it on
something
Netflix.
else.
It's got to be true.
Well, there's something else. It was that intensity shocker vibrator that they sent to us, and it said something about it makes your yoni wink. because it shocks your yoni. And it's like, bing.
What is this intensity shocking yoni?
It's
contraption?
It like blows
it's like a Kegel exerciser, but like it shocks you, so it makes your body go instead of
it's
you
like
actually
E-stim on your vajayjay.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of you actually like doing the clenching.
But you like pump this area and then it gets bigger. And I wasn't a fan. No
but
offense.
if you put your hand on it, it can get powerful. I gave one to my kinky friend because I was like, here, kinky friend, this looks like you're going to want this. I don't know if it's how it is. I mean, I'm for Kegels or Kegels. I don't know which way to pronounce it, but yeah, but for kink. Hey.
Good stuff.
So if people want to learn about your challenge that you invited, the sugar free challenge, how can they?
So I do these challenges a lot of the time. We just did a magnetize your mate challenge. That was really fun.
What's that?
How to call in your beloved if you're still looking. Or how to magnetize your mate that you've been with for 20 years and you need some magnetic help me chi in there. Yeah. So that was a fun one. We'll run that one again probably in the fall. But for right now, what we've got on the horizon is how to get off sugar. And it's not just about willpower. There's a lot more involved. It's actually about brain chemistry. So there are actually things that you can do, supplements that you can take in order to get off of sugar. So we're going to get off of sugar in 4 days, and that means cutting out sugar cravings. Not just stopping eating sugar, but stopping the cravings within 4 days. So we're going to do that this month, and we'd love to have you join.
This is February 2020.
Yep, February 20th.
Where do they join?
Go to my website. Good question.
But wait.
So go to yinwellness.com, YIN wellness.com. And there's a thing right at the top there that you can sign up for, the Get Off of Sugar. So if you know that you've got inflammation in your body, that you could use a boost in libido and vitality, let's get you off of sugar for a period of time and see how you feel. The thing is once you're off it, you don't want it anymore.
So true.
It's amazing.
Before I was with my partner, and I'm not blaming by any means, I totally have more sugar because I enjoy it now. I never ate dessert ever. And I mean, you've been hanging out with me forever, Amy. I mean, it's like almost 20 years.
It's the wine is the one.
Well, the wine's always been a thing, but yes.
Yeah.
But
you're not really a sugar person.
I love the sugar. And I just entered this part of my life that I'm sort of bummed because I now after every savory meal, I just crave a piece of dark chocolate or a peanut butter cup. And the less you have it, it's true. You don't crave it anymore. And I will say that I never really was into fruit. I like it more now, but like it is a matter of, it's like getting off the drug. You're like, hey,
getting off the drug.
In
fact, it's a drug. When sugar first was formulated and created, it was on lockdown in Europe. They only would let out a little bit at a time.
Because I'm not surprised, man. Yeah,
now sugar plantation.
People are making money off of it. So what if people? Okay, so what if people also? Because I think you had some other thing that you were offering too. And then how do people actually work with you? Do you work with people online? I know you have videos, and you work with people in person.
Yeah, so we run retreats throughout the year. This year, I'm kind of taking a hiatus because I'm writing a book and getting a doctorate, and that's enough.
No big deal.
Dr. Willow Brown.
Yes, Dr. Brown. I love it.
And then, but yeah, we do run live retreats and workshops and things like that pretty frequently throughout the Bay Area and all around the world. And then I work with people online quite a bit. I run a 9-month course. That's a massive transformation. So that's kind of the mothership. And then I also run smaller courses and programs, and there's a lot of options for all of y'all. I'll be creating a men's course this year, which I'm really excited about. And so if anyone's interested in just having a free conversation, we can do a sensuality awakening session, and I can give you a link for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll put it online. Yeah. Okay. Check in the show notes, everyone. It will be in the show notes when wherever you're looking, iTunes or on our website. It will be all be on there.
Yeah. So I'd love to connect with you and meet you and talk to you and, give you some direct advice or guidance for yourself, and whether or not we work together long term is up to the spirit, not up to us.
And that's Yin. Will you say your website again?
Yin Wellness.
YinWellness.com.
Soon to be Dr. Willow Brown.
Dr. Willow Brown. Oh,
I'm rebranding.
Exciting.
I just love your energy. You have this grounding,
You're amazing.
beautiful,
just a glow.
It's just so nice. And for someone like me that's like brrr, all the time, I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel so comfortable and more connected just having conversation with you. So thank you for taking the time to be with Amy and I. Amy's pretty grounded. She helps.
Not always. Yeah. April helps to pep me up. I'm like, where I'm tired. April's like, hey. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, you guys have a good match. Really good balance.
I know. Yeah. Well, it's definitely more complete with you here too.
Now the circle is full.
It's full. When's your birthday?
January 23rd. I just turned 40.
Oh,
I didn't even know that. But
congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait, what day is it? It's February 13th.
13th.
Okay. And this is going out. Yeah. So this will be a month after birthday. So yeah.
Well, happy
late
birthday. I just wanted to know if you were, Amy and I are both water signs. So I was like, if you're a Scorpio, that would really complete the triangle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm the water bearer, but I'm
Yes.
the air sign.
Okay.
Ooh, I love some air. So, all right. I'm sad to have this end. I want more information.
Well, we can go watch Willow's videos.
I need to download. I wish I could just
Check
log in and
out
download.
the YouTube.
Yeah.
We're really bolstering up the YouTube these days.
And do the
there's
challenge,
tons.
everyone.
Yeah, and do the challenge, really, because even if you don't get off sugar in these 4 days, you're going to have the information to do it when you're ready. Because, I mean, it's, like I said, it's not about willpower. That's where they're like, I can't. I've tried. Yeah, but have you used these supplements and these foods to actually get the physiological support? Because you need the physical support for it.
Oh, damn it. No, I'm pressured. I gotta
Stop
get
drinking
off
the wine.
Pressure, April. At least come to the challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Damn it.
I love you listeners, and just as much as I love Amy and Willow. So thank you for tuning in every Tuesday, but this is actually a bonus episode. So maybe you're tuning in on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, who knows what day. But we love you. You're part of the Shameless Sex Revolution. Ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.